Good morning. Thank you for joining me here. Beth from Ozarks Prep Stutters here. I have a couple of different things I want to talk about this morning. A little bit of a departure, I think, from what I usually talk about. I'm not going to talk about real estate or construction or anything like that. For those of you that don't know, I am super active in fighting this digital battle, this digital war that we have going on against censoring, against the lockdown of information. I just find it all extremely tragic because our nation has been the bastion of freedom for the world for over 200 years. We are the nation that every other country in the world looks to figure out what true freedom and prosperity looks like. It's been that way for over 200 years. You know, we had a little bit of a mess in the middle there, you know, with the Civil War. We had some internal things to work out. And for the most part, it seemed that we had worked them out. But the truth is, and as a Christian, what I can tell you I've learned for absolute certainty is that whenever we face down evil, in order to ensure that evil does not return, it must be completely destroyed. It must be wiped out. You can't just brush evil aside and expect that, you know, everything's going to be okay. Because it is deception, and it is darkness, and it is the antithesis of everything America stands for. When America stands for prosperity and freedom and a open way of life, capitalism, where every single citizen has the opportunity to be the most they can be, do the most they can do, excel to whatever rate they want to excel with the right hard work, determination, and everything. Socialism, which is evil, and communism, which is evil, steps in to try and steal that. So the whisper that we get from the socialists and the communists is that success is only for the rich. Only the rich people get success. Success is only if you're white. Success is only if you're a white male. In order for everybody to have the chance to be successful, we have to wipe out capitalism, and the government has to take over, and the government will give you a stipend, and the government will give you a house, and the government will give you transportation in whatever way they see fit. You know, and the problem with this is that it's never actually worked any place it's been tried in the history of the world ever. Because what happens is the people who are already at the top, the government or the elite, or, you know, in the cases of, you know, some place like the USSR, you know, the czars, they just take the most of everything and then decide not to give the people very much. I had the great opportunity growing up in America in the 80s, whenever the Cold War was in full-fledged, those of you who grew up in the 80s, lived through the 80s, you know what I'm talking about. I can clearly remember watching the evening news with my folks, late 70s, early 80s, and seeing the people in Russia stand in the bread lines, okay? It's the middle of winter in the USSR. It is minus 30. The lines are a mile long for people waiting for one loaf of bread. Hoping for one loaf of bread. And there would be these old ladies in the Cossacks and old men hunched over and little children starving, waiting in line for one loaf of bread. And would it be there whenever they got to the end of the line? Maybe, maybe not. And if not, what happened? You came back the next day and you did it again. That is what communism is, folks. That is what socialism is. And we have allowed the evil that is communism and socialism to infiltrate our nation. And we're to the point where it very well could take over. I know that a lot of folks look to President Trump, as kind of the next Messiah, the Savior. He's going to lead us out of this. A lot of Christians believe that the Lord has put him in place to lead us out. I believe that President Trump and certain members of the GOP, very few, a handful members of the GOP, truly are standing in between us and the total destruction of our nation as we know it. I truly believe that. However, I also know that if we are in the end times, if biblical prophecy is coming to fruition, it doesn't matter who the president is, we're not going to stop it. We're not going to stop it. The Lord has talked about this. It was written down thousands of years ago. And for hundreds of years, maybe thousands, people have been saying, oh, it's coming. The end is coming. Revelation is coming. Armageddon is coming. And there have certainly been times in the history of our world where if you were living through it, you probably would have thought, yes, that's true. Let's take, for example, World War II. Okay? Millions and millions and millions of people murdered. Many of them God's chosen people. I'm sure at some point in World War II, people felt that they were in the end times. Let's look at the Black Plague. I'm sure whenever all of Europe was dying, literally, by a horrific plague, people thought they were in the end times. And I don't dispute those feelings. It's totally understandable. There's many other times throughout history where folks probably felt the same way. However, the difference is, I believe, between all of those previous times and now, is that so many of the signs that the Lord has told us to watch out for are coming to fruition all at once. There is barely a place on the earth, a nation on the earth, that is not under some type of turmoil or heading towards turmoil right now. You know, whenever World War II was raging, that was mostly European countries and, North America. Don't get me wrong. Japan was involved. There were, many places. I mean, they called it a world war for a reason. However, there were still a lot of places on the planet that were untouched, that it was barely just a whisper of what was going on. We're kind of past that point now. South America, you look at Venezuela, places like that, completely lost their way of life. You look at Africa and what's going on with many of those nations with genocide. You look at Eastern European bloc. You look at the main part of Europe. You look at what's happening here in the U.S. with our own elections and the potential destruction of our entire way of life. And then you have the pandemic and many other things that the Bible has talked about are coming true. We're seeing it come to fruition. I am not a biblical scholar. I don't pretend to be a biblical scholar. In fact, I've only known Christ for about 14 years now. But I will tell you this. My whole life, I have had prophetic dreams. Intense prophetic dreams. My mom has the same ability. Being an average, normal human being, I tend to ignore that, poo-poo it. It's just a thing. It doesn't really mean anything. Yeah, so I get visions and have dreams, and then the stuff later on comes true. What good does that do? Unless I'm getting dreams about, which stocks to pick or which horses to pick, it doesn't really do me any good, right? That's kind of the way I've felt about it my whole life. Like, it's more of a burden than a gift. Then whenever I came to know the Lord, I discovered that it is indeed a gift from God. In 2011, Randy and I had been split up for a little bit over a year. It did not look at that point in time like there was any hope for us ever getting back together. Now, I had a sense deep in my heart that the Lord would bring us back together. And it was strong enough in me that during those 4 years that we were apart, I didn't date anybody else. I didn't see anybody else. I didn't try and enter into any other type of relationship. I literally spent those 4 years trying to fix what was broken in me. And I have a lot of broken stuff in me because I just didn't have an easy go of it all the way from the age of about 3 on. Things just never came easy for me. I've had to overcome a lot to get to where I am today. So anyway, it did not look like there was any chance that we were going to get back together. But I did hold it in my heart. I did believe that the Lord would eventually heal our relationship. But I wasn't super, super strong in that belief because I had so much self-doubt of my own. So what I mean by that is, like I said, I never saw anybody else. I didn't try and move into another relationship. I kept the home fires burning. I believed that at some point we would get back together. But in 2013, when I found out that Randy had a girlfriend and she was moving in with him, at that point I was like, okay, I guess I was wrong. I guess I didn't hear the Lord correctly, right? I think we do that a lot. I think we tell ourselves that we didn't hear things correctly whenever the Lord speaks to us because his timing is not our timing. And we get a little impatient and can't see it through to the end, okay? So anyway, 2011, and I have this prophetic dream. And in this dream, Randy and I are in like a small apartment. It's me and Randy and Jake. We're in a small apartment in a city on the West Coast. I can't tell what city it is from the dream. But outside, buildings are burning. There is rioting. There is chaos. There is destruction. Everybody is angry, very, very angry as they're looting, burning, rioting. And as I look out the window, I can see some evil men heading for us. And I know they're going to break in the door, and I know they have very, very evil intentions. Like, rape, murder the whole family, steal everything, move on to the next house. As they start to break into the door, this incredible peace washes over me. And I realize that the Lord is protecting us, that there is no need for us to worry, that the Lord will have full protection for us. Randy doesn't get that. He is still in military mode, like his job is to protect the family. So he picks up a big bat. And as the guys walk into the room, he pushes me and Jake behind him, and he's got the bat. He's ready to swing the bat. And then suddenly he realizes, I think it was different for him in the dream, and this is important, although it may seem minutia, it really is kind of important. I knew that the Lord was protecting us. He realized in the dream that for whatever reason, the intruders could not see us. We were basically invisible to them. So as they're pillaging through the room, I grab his hand and Jake's hand and I lead them out the door. And as we get out the door, we make a turn to the right, which in my dream was east. I look back over my shoulder to the west, and the city is burning, rioting, black smoke, broken windows, people screaming. I mean, it was a nightmare, right? To the left, to the right, to the east, I can see a big stone gate. And on the other side of the gate, the sun is shining and the sky is blue. To the west, blackness. To the east, sun, blue, peace. So we start walking, and suddenly the sidewalk turns into an escalator, or like one of those, moving sidewalks that you have at the airport. So we're standing there, we're going out to the east, and to my horror, I see people voluntarily coming the other way. People are voluntarily coming into the destruction and the chaos of the cities. And as we're heading out, we come to the first person going the other way, passing us, and I grab him by the arm and I say, "Brother, you don't have to do this. You don't have to go there. You can turn around and go back the other way. You don't have to give your life over to the darkness. You can come with us to the light." And he just had this glassy expression, like he was in a trance, like he was completely oblivious to the fact that he even had a choice. And we go on through the gate, and I awaken from the dream. Okay, so this is 2011. At this time, Randy had not come back to the Lord. Randy grew up in the church. It was a horrible time for him, a terrible experience for him. He broke with the church and with the Lord whenever he was 17 and went into the Air Force, and he never looked back. Christianity was a bad thing for him. And in fact, it was one of the things that led to our breakup, because whenever he was overseas, I got saved. And he didn't want to be married to a Christian girl. He just didn't. It was that much of a deal breaker for him. There were other issues, but that for sure was one of them. So whenever we started to really reconnect and talk about getting back together, I was on my knees all the time because Randy had still not come back to the Lord. And I didn't know if I was strong enough in the Lord to be in a relationship with somebody who was not at that point a believer. And the Lord tells us, do not be unequally yoked. And it was very, very confusing for me for a long time because I didn't understand why the Lord would heal that relationship and bring us back together and put me in an unequally yoked situation. Now, I want to make this really clear. From the time I got saved in 2007 until about 2009, I fought it. I did not want to be a Christian. Our story goes back a long way. Randy and I have been together, mostly together for over 23 years. We met in a very non-biblical way. We met in a chat room on AOL called Ask a Witch. I was completely, totally into paganism at that point, had been since I was 15 years old. Randy, I think, was dabbling, maybe a little bit more than dabbling. Anyway, after we got together a couple years into it, we opened a witchcraft supply store. We were some of the first people I had a reverend certificate. We were some of the first people to do gay marriage. Married some friends of ours, a gay couple. I taught people about the horrors of Christianity and the joys of paganism. That's who we were. That was our lifestyle. I came into that when I was 14 or 15. By this time I'm 31, 32, right? So it had been my whole life. So paganism had been my whole life. It was impossible for me to get my mind around the fact that the Lord Jesus Christ had come and personally gotten me. And I can share my whole testimony another time, but it was one of those supernatural experiences. And I fought it hard for 2 years. So at about year 3, I think we were at about 2008, Randy went overseas. He was over there for 2.5 years. He was still in the military, obviously. Jake and I could not go with him because of the type of mission he was on. And the Lord just thoroughly enveloped me. I had suffered my whole life from severe depression due to the trauma of my childhood. And while Randy was gone, it had gotten so bad that I had a gun in my mouth. I was trying to figure out how to end it all without Jake being the one to find me, because it was only me and Jake, and he was still little at the time. And peace of the Lord came over me, lifted me out of the depression, saved my life. And that was after I had fought him for over 2 years on, was I even going to accept him in any way, shape, or form? So for me, in my personal experience, the Lord is real. He is a real entity. He is a good, pure entity of love. I know so many people have had bad experiences with the church, and that's the opposite of their experience. But the fact is, the church is man. The church is not God. They're supposed to represent God, but they're human beings, and, you know, all the crap that comes with that. So anyway, Randy and I ended up splitting up. He did not want to be with a Christian girl. It was not a good thing. I didn't know how I was going to handle this whenever we got back together. We got back together in 2014. And it's 2020 now. In 2018, we were in a real bad spot. And I had never stopped praying, never stopped believing that the Lord would heal things. But I had done things like given up going to church every Sunday, because it was just too much of a struggle. Whenever you are unequally yoked, it can be very, very challenging to stay 100% focused on the Lord. So I had a time when I was on my knees telling the Lord, I don't like the way things are going. I don't like the way my life is. I miss you. Whenever Randy and I had split up, I had spent every day with the Lord, every single day. I was in church every time the doors were open. I was in deep Bible study. Like, the Lord is who got me through that whole thing. And I was a wreck. I mean, it was the worst time of my life. And I came back to the Ozarks to be with family, and some of my family turned on me, and it was just devastating. Like, everything about my life at that point sucked, except for the fact that the Lord was there holding me in his arms through it all. Thank you, Jesus. So anyway, 2018, things had started to get a little rocky for us. We had a lot going on, that things were not working out financially with work. Randy had retired from the Air Force, and we were trying to start a new career for him, and things were rocky. And something happened, and I told him, look, if this comes through for us, this huge, phenomenal thing, it is a miracle from God. So anyway, long story short, I know it's too late for that. Ha! Anyway, long story short, by 2018, Randy had started to have some calling back from the Lord that he was open to. The Lord was starting to talk to him, and he was starting to listen. And we had something happen to us that really was a little bit of a miracle. And I believe it was just the Lord just wrapping his arms around Randy, saying, I'm here, I still love you, come back. And the prodigal returned. Okay, so that's where we are now. So, 2019, towards the end of 2019, the beginning of this year, we realized that we needed to get out of Vegas. Vegas was not working for us. And if you heard, if you've been following us for a while, you've probably heard part of our story. And, so we left. Now, looking back over everything that's happened, I can clearly see how prophetic that dream was that I had in 2011. Because this part of the country where we are is probably going to be the rally point for what's left of the nation after all of this shakes out. This is where the conservatives are. This is where the homesteaders are. This is where the preppers are. Are there homesteaders and preppers and conservatives in other parts of the country? Yes, absolutely. But the liberals, the evil, the darkness has not enveloped this area yet. There are pockets, but it's nowhere near like what we see on the East Coast, the West Coast, and the states that the liberals have purposely targeted and tried to flip, like Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, North Carolina, Kentucky, Louisiana. It's just amazing how much of our country they have infiltrated and attempted to take over. So we have this pocket here, parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, parts of Missouri, parts of Tennessee, and even parts of Kentucky, where it is stronghold, hardcore Christian conservatives who are willing to fight to the bitter end to maintain democracy and to keep our republic intact and to protect free speech and to protect freedom and to protect capitalism and to keep us from falling into the abyss and the darkness and the evil that is socialism and communism. So it makes sense to me that in the dream we were coming east. I cannot emphasize enough how wrong it is that this all worked out. My husband was bound and determined to go back to Oregon. That's where we were supposed to go. That's where we were supposed to be. He wanted to go home. He wanted to fight the fight there. That the fact that he even considered going someplace other than Oregon was a bit of a miracle. And whenever it all shook out the way that it did, there is no other way to describe it than that the Lord has put us here. He has put us here. I want to encourage you, those of you that are believers, if you are getting inklings, if you are getting whispers, if the Lord is putting things on your heart, like get out of where you are, please, I beg of you, listen to that. Listen to it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't tell yourself things like, well, I have a house here. All my friends are here. All my family is here. I can't leave. I can't move. I can't go. You can. You can and you must. Heed the word of the Lord. Heed the call that the Lord puts on your heart. Do not turn your heart away. Do not let your head rule you. Listen to that small, still voice and follow the direction of the Lord. Because I truly believe, and there are lots of channels out here on YouTube land that are telling you the same thing I'm going to tell you, and I don't know any of them personally. I haven't even watched a bunch of them. I've just heard from other people that they're talking. The Lord is calling a remnant together, and he is calling people to this area, and it is happening for a reason. So I just beg of you, if you're feeling that you need to get out now, because the time is getting small. The window is getting narrow. And I don't think any of us can imagine what's going to happen after this election. But I think we almost all are in agreement that it's going to be bad, and it doesn't matter who wins. Hunter Bite. Although I have been fighting this digital battle hardcore for months now, I do believe in certain letters of the alphabet, the 17th letter to be specific. Been following it for a long time. Thoroughly believe the majority of what has been put out there, because I have been following it and have seen so much come to fruition that there would have to be so many coincidences that it's mathematically impossible, right? So I see a lot of people kind of being joyous about everything that's happening with Hunter right now, about the laptops, the pictures. I see a lot of memes of him with the crack pipe and stuff like that. And I just, yes, he came from a rich family. Yes, he's part of the elite. And at the same time, please understand that he is a human being that probably has suffered things you can't even imagine. Some of these families, some of these elite have been so steeped in evil for so long that the way their children are raised is demonic. It's actually demonic. It is evil and demonic. And for him to have such strong addictions at 50 years old, he's probably suffered a lot of abuse and neglect his whole life. Just because a family paints a pretty picture in their Christmas card portrait does not mean that's what's really going on. Please trust me on this. I know firsthand how I've seen it my whole life. Families that seem to be so loving and perfect and great, and there are horrific things going on behind closed doors. I feel horrible for this guy. I feel like he's being a huge scapegoat. And where's the old man? Is the old man standing up saying anything? Saying, hey, leave my son alone. He's got a drug problem. Hey, this isn't true. Hey, I was responsible. Don't blame my son. Nope. He's just taking a breather until the next debate. At which time, if Trump brings up anything about all of this, they will literally turn his mic off. You mark my words. The censorship has gotten so bad, it is like we are in a freaking banana republic. It is disgusting. So I guess every time I see a meme with him, and you know, the right, one thing we are super, super good at, nobody can take away from us, is our ability to make a good meme. And I love a good meme more than the next guy, for sure, because I'm a little sarcastic like that. And yeah, but every time I see one of him, my heart breaks a little bit. I think the guy is just so broken and such a mess. And where is anybody showing up in support of him? Where does anybody have his back? Is his family speaking out? Where's his mom? You know, like there's nothing. Like they are just literally letting him hang out there to dry. And I just think they're horrific human beings. They're evil. We see it time and time and time and time again. And while the information, and of course I'm not saying Hunter is totally a victim here. I mean, obviously he's made some choices, and he is also a victim, trust me. So I just ask that as all of you digital warriors out there, as we are battling the last 15 days, trying to get President Trump reelected, because that truly does seem to be our only hope. Although God is in charge, so what's going to happen is going to happen. But we have to do our part, right? That's the thing. Like, I hear that all the time. Well, if God's going to do whatever God wants to do, then why don't you just sit there and mind your own business and wait for it to happen? Because we have free will, and we have to do our part. And our part is to fight disinformation, fight censorship, and show up to vote in huge numbers on election day. That's our part. So while you're out there doing that, while you're fighting the good fight and fighting censorship and using the information that we are getting from Hunter to try and open eyes and make more people aware, please just pray for him along the way, because I don't think it's going to be a good ending for him, no matter how you look at it. I go back to the vision that I had, the dream that I had of the guy who was going willingly heading into the chaos and destruction. Whenever you are deceived, you don't know that you're deceived. That's what deception is. And the Bible talks about it a lot, about how people are deceived and the deception and the cloak that is on their hearts. They are oftentimes unwilling to see, but equally as many times they are unable to see. That's what deception is. So that's it. That's all I wanted to share for today. It's kind of a windy day. I hurt my foot on the job site last week. I'm stuck here today. I'm blessed that I get to do some great computer work and make some videos and things like that. Talk to y'all. Pray, folks. Pray for our nation. Let's pray for each other. And let's do the things, as Bear on Bear Independence channel says all the time. We got to do the things. So we got to get prepared. I'm gonna echo what every other person who has a YouTube channel in this genre is telling you right now. Get stocked up. Don't wait another 2 weeks. It's going to be too late. Toilet paper is back in stock at our Walmart. I'm planning on buying a buttload of it. Not because I want to be a hoarder. But because I don't want to get stuck 2, 3, 4 months into it, not being able to buy it, like we saw what happened with, COVID. Every time we go to the store, we're buying extra food. We've got 3 freezers and they are crammed freaking full. Just stock up. Every time you go to the store, just buy a couple extra cans. Buy soup, buy rice, buy beans, buy things that store well and that you can mix together to create different kinds of meals. There is such a thing as whenever you eat the same thing all the time, it's called food fatigue. Best way to make sure that doesn't happen is to buy 18 different varieties of beans, rice, and soup. Ground meat, ground pork, ground beef. You can combine all those things together in unlimited ways to keep it interesting while we're on lockdown. I don't know if you could see behind me, it's kind of going down now, but we've got a wood insert in our fireplace, and I have stocked up on wood because the worst thing that can happen to people is winter comes and you cannot get warm. And if the electricity goes out and you've got electric heat and an electric stove, you're not cooking and you're not staying warm. So figure out a way how you can get heat into your house that you have complete and total control over. You are not relying on a utility company. This again is why so many of us are telling you, if you are in the city, get out. You cannot survive in an urban situation where there is a total meltdown. It's not, you've got to get out. So I'm praying for all of you. If you are watching this channel, I am praying for you. If you are like trying to figure it out and you are just scared crapless, which I know happens, I am praying for you. You can do it. You can get out of where you are. And you might even have to take a loss, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. Get out now. Because come November 4th, I don't think it's going to be good, folks. I really don't. I'm going to put some links to some resources down in the comment section down there. I wish I could do more, but I can only do what I can do. So I'm going to put it down there. I hope that you take advantage of it. If you have any questions, if you have any questions about the Ozarks where we are, if you have any questions about what it looks like to actually do that relocation, don't forget, we took off in the middle of a global pandemic whenever a lot of things were still locked down. Keep your eyes open. Keep your ears open. Keep your heart open. And follow whatever the Lord puts on your heart, because things are going to get crazy. Thank you for listening this far. Thank you for following us. I wish you all the best. Today is Monday, October 19th, so have a happy Monday, and much blessings and love to you, and we will catch you on the next one.